What's up, guys? Welcome to episode number, Brett, what do we got? Six of One-on-Ones with Mike and Paul. We are here after game 1 and 2 of our 2024 PLL season. Albany, New York, dressed up in New York Atlas blue. It was an amazing day. Awesome fan turnout. Broadcast was outstanding on ABC and ESPN Plus. We held this week's podcast to do it in between games so we could talk about the games, get some live questions from fans that will join us in a minute. And Mike, what'd you think?
Thought it was great, man. I thought you recapped it well. I mean, look, the weather turned out incredibly well for us. That's something that's very unpredictable. Gives us a lot of heartburn every single week. We start checking the week out. I'll start looking at, Charlotte today. And, the people showed up. We had 22% growth in attendance year over year. That I just got that fresh stat. So we always love to see that.
Yeah,
that's fast stats. Looking like 43% growth in merch year over year, day one. So stats are coming in great. And then most importantly, though, the gameplay was fantastic. And you never really know, right? Game one for all these teams after like a long training camp. Rookies coming in from college, how's it going to mesh? And I just keep, truly, I'm not just saying this, but these guys are just so good at lacrosse.
Yeah.
And they're taking care of their bodies every year. They're training harder. Training camp seems to really be like working for them. And it was just enjoyable. Like I miss watching the PLL.
Yeah. Yeah, the training camp from all accounts of coaches and the 8 teams. The Redwoods actually aren't playing this weekend because they have their first bye. But all of them have said that it was the best camp that the PLL has had. So shout out to our ops team for making it go as smoothly as they could. But I think there's something about 5 years now, entering our 6th season, where coaches and GMs and players have figured out the pace of the week leading into the opening games. But I was even looking at, you see great plays on the heels of great schematics. And it's like, same thing in the creative space. You can be creative only once you're organized. And I saw this Atlas team that really handled the Boston Cannons, and that was a team that they really struggled with last season. Coach Pressler and his staff made some personnel moves this year that put him in a great position, but really I thought their X's and O's were fantastic. They got one of the best players in the world in Jeff Teat the ball more than I've seen in a long time, and he returned the favor with 12 points. And then Connor Schellenberger, 2 and 6, one of the best rookie debuts that I can remember. You were with those guys in D.C. for the Tewaaraton. Yeah. Talk about the Tewaaraton experience. Talk about your time with Pat Cavanaugh, Brendan O'Neill, Liam Entenman, Matt Brandow, Connor Schellenberger.
Yeah, we're partners with the Tewaaraton. Paul and I are lucky enough to be on the board there. We try to really help out. It's a great initiative that they've been running for the past 24 years. Next year's the 25th anniversary. We do a scholarship that we've been doing for the last couple of years where we do, with PLL Assists, our nonprofit, we're doing 2 scholarships to Native kids as they make their journey and matriculate from high school to college. So we do one male, one female. So that was great. I was there to give out that award. I think that those scholarships. I think for me, what I noticed about Schellenberger and all the guys had different experiences. Whether they, UVA lost, didn't make it to the finals, or you have, the whirlwind of Notre Dame, or Brendan O'Neill has been out for a couple of weeks. Like you just see different, like that really carried with them. And I noticed Brennan and Shelley were really dialed, really focused. And Cavanaugh was too, obviously, but he
it's just a different experience.
He had to fly back to Notre Dame to have his going away with his team, then fly back in the next morning to Tewaaraton to DC, then wins the award. Then we throw him on a jet with us, and he's here and he's running. Has to do his physical. It was super intense for him. So they all have their different experiences. Where Schellenberg was just quiet, focused. And so was O'Neill. So I'm excited to see O'Neill tomorrow. And I actually thought that Cav looked good too, running around. Different position coming out of the box.
Yeah.
But, for me too, the first game, me, when the games aren't close, that's just part of pro sports, but it does affect our ratings. So I go in a hole, and it's hard for me because I'm man, this is our first game, opening game on ABC. ratings, blah, blah, blah. It's just part of pro sports.
And then while he's in the hole, he hears the crowd getting louder and the Water Dogs come back like they did in the championship game last year in Philly, and all of a sudden it's a 1-goal game.
Yeah, everyone's like, dude, why do you always like go in a hole in the game? I was like, there's a game of runs. The PLL, no one's ever out. There's 2-pointers, and then all of a sudden, Dobson makes these crazy saves, goes down literally to the last second. You couldn't have asked for a better first game. Dobson had 22 saves.
22 saves. Sisselberger was fantastic at the stripe. He had a goal. Connor Fields had a first-half hat trick. Grant Amon had a first-half hat trick. You know, to your call-out around Pat Cavanaugh coming out of the box, I think that's some of the biggest challenges that coaches in this league have is there is this incredible depth at the offensive end, and you have these staple attackmen, and you have someone like Pat coming in or even Connor Schellenberger where they're great athletes. You can run them out of the box. But they're natural attackmen. And that's an advantage that Connor had over Pat is he was in his natural position. And it's not to say that Pat didn't play well or Pat's not going to have a great season if he continues to come out of the midfield. But it's just different. And the same could be said for Brendan O'Neill, who ran out of the box and actually had an incredible World Games last summer with Team USA.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can still run out of the box and because like there will be fans that be like, well, if he's running out of the box, then you should have more teams. And like we've discussed this already, right?
Cue discourse.
Yeah, cue discourse. But at the same time, he just gave a perfect example of how it works sometimes as well with Brendan O'Neill. So
totally. And that's the job of the coaches. And they're jostling between taking long stick midfielders and put them in the close position, right? Last year, Pressler was bringing Gavin Adler and Brett Makar out of the box because he had his stout veteran defense, and those guys were out of position. They were fantastic today. So anyway, I think, you know, last night we were at the Archer's ring ceremony, and we both said a couple of words. But to your point around the difference in emotions of the Tewaaraton finalists flying into Albany is so true. You know, Greg Popovich will talk about how you can never have the same mindset as a former champion when you did before you won, as you did before you won. And that's what Cavanaugh is coming to the table with, and that's psyche. And Brendan O'Neill and Connor Schellenberger are pissed the way their college season ended, and that's psyche. I lost the championship game my senior year against Syracuse. I came into the MLL pissed. What was your takeaway from seeing the How'd you feel about the Archers and just that moment? That was the first time we've done a ring ceremony.
I mean, it's hard for me, as I've said before, like giving a speech to guys who were world champions because I've never won a championship. So I talked for me, I talked to them about like building culture and, you know, how I'm intentional around trying to build a company culture. And that's how I related it. And then, you know, if you looked at what the Archers had been the previous 4 years, they always had stacked rosters. They had high expectations. Remember in 2022, they lost in D.C. or 2021, maybe it was 2022 with Matt Moore as a rookie, but they were like Will Manning, Marcus Holman.
Yep. They lost to Chaos.
They lost to Chaos in D.C. I remember sitting there, it was like kind of raining, and those guys were, because they were like, you know, one of the best teams in the league, and they were just stacked, and Batesy and Schreiber were so pissed. And
that's when they had Holman and Manny.
Yeah, and then, you know, Bates referenced it. He's like, we made some hard moves, like guys who were great people, but I had to get the chemistry right, to get the positions right, and then we all had to buy into those moves. And I think a lot of it started with the veteran leadership, whether it was, you know, obviously Tommy or Matt McMahon, some of those guys who really bought in and believed in the system. And you got guys like Tony Resch who are just like, you know, incredible leaders. And I think that what I saw and what I told them was a complete buy-in and trust to the new system, and incredible leadership and communication. And the Archers are just like, they always do things with integrity. They're just like great people. All of our players are. But I really noticed those were the kind of the pillars of the cultural shift for me, and I thought that was part of the ingredients, so parts of the ingredients for their winning culture.
Anything else you want to hit related to the business or the environment that we've created here for week one before we bring on some questions?
No, man. I think this was a great opening weekend. It's a lot of work to get to this place. You know, Albany's a great place for us. The training camp went really well. I think for us, you know, we're students. We always are eager. We're ambitious. We want to get better. So like, I have a notepad of things that we can do better, that we won't air out right now. And it's not because we're not trying. It's just because like there's opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's always that balance of being like, that was awesome. We stepped up our game. Like, look at this stadium. It is wrapped New York Atlas. It was a homecoming, home weekend. The players were super pumped. Walking, I was like, thanks for this, man. This felt like what I wanted it to feel like. Danny Logan was somebody that was walking off, and Brett Makar and some of those guys. Anyway, but there's still stuff we can get better on. And so, like, we got to take those notes and then be really thoughtful about how we deliver them in an efficient way without making sure that people's feelings are hurt. So that's what's going through my mind right now.
And it's so dynamic. I mean, also what they say in sports, which is true, is that winning solves everything. And what Atlas may have been happy about this weekend in way of accommodations and coming off of a win might actually be something that Philadelphia and Boston is unhappy with. So we have to be mindful of all of that. I thought, the canvas that was set up today blew me away. So shout out to our fan experience team and dressing this thing up. And let's hear from our fans.
Let's get him in here.
Blake wearing the fresh homecoming New York Atlas merch. I didn't even know we made that.
Dang, look at that merch, man.
He said we did. I thought he had it made on his own.
No.
That's fire.
Yeah.
Welcome, man. What did you think of the team?
They look good today.
They look good. They look real good.
Yeah.
Teat had 12 points.
What did Schellenberger end up with?
2 and 6. He had 8.
Nice.
Probably one of the best rookie debuts in pro lacrosse history.
So why
8 points.
Just, I'm from upstate, so just.
There you go.
Yeah.
Converted.
And Cornell, like I'm from Ithaca, so.
There you go.
All the
Nice.
Cornell guys.
There you go.
So your guys did it.
Yeah.
Adler and Teat
Yep.
played great. What you got for us, man?
Why'd the PLL shorten the 2-point arc?
It's a good question. So MLL first started with a 15-yard arc, and then they moved it to 16. We looked at volume shooting from cadence, which means number of shots, to conversion. And when the MLL had it at 15, there were more 2-pointers scored. So we attempted to try it in our first year. We have explored in all-star games, moving it to 13. The Champ Series have 13. We have not tested 16 again. I was just talking about it with Paul Gate on the sideline around the psychology of where offense is set up based on the 2-point arc versus the restraining line in college. And I think that has to do with a little bit of better defense in the PLL than maybe in MLL history. So similar to when we launched, we pulled 10 yards out of the middle of the field. So imagine a 110-yard field is typical in lacrosse. We pulled this part out, so the same distance from the end line to goal line extended is there in college as it is pro, high school, etc. So we're testing to try to find the absolute best version of the modern game. No different than the NFL now changing their kickoff rule 48 hours ago and changing overtime rules. It's just incumbent on the pro league to do it. What do you think? Anything to add?
No, I think that the technicalities are right. I think for us, like Paul said, we just want to be constantly building the best version of the sport with our players, getting their feedback, and also for the fans. And so the iterations, even like the ball color, right? And especially for, how you view it live, but also how you consume it on television. Because, television product is kind of like that's our core software. If that's not right, if that's not working, the other stuff doesn't work, right? So optic yellow of the ball picks up better on broadcast. There's tons of testing and R&D that went into tennis, and so that was something we adopted. So any other ideas for us, man? Like anything else we can be doing?
No, I'm good.
We've thought about bringing the sidelines in 5 yards together, so 2.5 each, and get more pace out of the subs. Because what we look at is, historically, this is called, at least, it started in 1922 in the Baltimore Sun. They call it the fastest game on 2 feet because its ability to carry with great athletes and also pass. But when you look at a broadcast of a 110-yard field, the transition, there's so much dead time in that. It doesn't feel fast. So that's a lot of stuff we talk about. But one last fact I'll leave you with. Did you know MLL used to play with grooves and an orange ball?
I did not.
Yeah, one of the things that we have to, we adapt to and take pride in is the distribution that we get at the pro level now that never happened before. But that was, in a lot of cases among other trials that MLL did that we've learned from, it didn't get the same type of feedback because not a lot of people watched it then. But we played with an entirely different ball.
Ball grooves?
It had
or ball dimples?
No, it had grooves.
Dimples.
It was grooves.
Bumps.
No. It wasn't exteriors, interior. So we had grooves, and that allowed the ball to be extra grippy. which allowed you to then shoot it faster or even throw curve into your shot. Now, we didn't take that into the PLL because I think balls need to be unified and didn't want to do too much.
Yeah.
I've done enough already.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Blake.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.
Here we go, Scott.
Can I start with a question
Yeah, of course.
for Scott? Yeah.
It's
I
your
get
show.
to ask. I got to ask a question. Well, you just talk forever, so I got to cut in sometimes.
Well, this show was your idea.
Did you chug that fast twitch? You need another?
I mean, you feel free to pontificate on a 15-yard two-point arc if you want to.
I don't even know what our arc is.
The grooved ball was pretty interesting to hear about.
Yeah. And by the way, we kept the iteration of the two-point arc that was new last year, which we have elbows now. But when we started, it was fully round. We created elbows to encourage low-angle two-point shots.
So we have Scott here. He is the president of the New York Stampede. How would you describe your efforts and what you're building as an ambassador of the New York Atlas?
So we're trying to grow the game, right? Like everybody here is trying to grow the sport of lacrosse. And the best way to go about it is start bringing people in that don't know anything about it. And you guys can say it until you're blue in the face, but until people actually put butts in the seats, it doesn't grow, right? So those of us that are here and root for the Atlas or root for the Chaos or root for whomever, we're trying to get butts in the seat. So the way we do it is with supporter groups.
And you're building a culture around the supporter group, right? From what I hear,
Absolutely.
like you have chants you're building, you have bars you guys go to, you have watch parties.
I think we're trying to build chants. I think until you truly have like home teams, and I'm not knocking the fact that this is tour based because we get to watch all-star games 4 times in a weekend, right? Which is the best thing in the world. I think chants will slowly develop. I think next week you're going to see, and maybe I'm tipping the hand of the supporter group in Carolina, but I think you're going to see the best organized supporter group because they already had a team down there. They've already got chants figured out. They're going to
With
have
the Charlotte Hounds. you mean.
yeah, but the Red Legion is the supporter group down
Yeah.
there. So get ready.
so. You've
Yeah.
work to do, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, we have a lot of work.
I think there's going to be some competition
There
between
is.
the supporter groups.
There already
That
is.
might- them being loud might piss you off.
Oh, it's already started. Denver and us have already started.
Good
chirping.
news is you have tomorrow.
Well, we chirped today with the battery because I was on the podcast on Thursday and I thought for sure we were going to go down swinging. So, but nope. We grabbed a big one from them today.
I like the chants that were starting to happen when it was clear the game was over.
Yeah. We don't need the chance when the game's over. We need the chance before the game starts.
Felt like a rub it in supporter group to me.
Well, you guys are building from the base, right?
We
so
are.
keep up the good work. All
Thank
right,
you.
you got
Love it.
questions for us?
Yes, I do. So, as fans of the sport of lacrosse, what can we do to help the PLL grow? Besides the supporter groups, obviously.
I mean, this is going to sound rhetorical, but I do think it's about bringing people to the games and getting people to watch with you. And if you look at all the other sports leagues that have had success over the last 100 years, if you look at the Power 5 leagues, they have these local communities, they have communities of fans, and they sort of galvanize together, and they watch together, and they go together. We just, Paul and I were going to our hotel last night, and these 4 guys, probably in their mid-20s, jumped out of a car. They grabbed Paul, and they were like, hey, thanks for coming back to Albany. Me and my boys every single year make this trip up. It's fantastic. So we're starting to see that build right now. But, I mean, truly, it's grabbing people by the collar that don't know about lacrosse, or getting people that have moved and are distant from the game and bringing them back in through, whether it's a stampede or just being a fan of the game. It should be like, come to a game. Because when people come and watch, like, this is sick. Or people watch on TV, like, this is broadcasted really well. I can tell you guys are investing.
Yeah, it's hard to add to that because coming to a game or watching a game are leaders in the clubhouse, no question. I would say to add, participate in the conversation on social. We were talking to our players 2 days ago and talking about sort of the importance of social, also the why of social. Social is to the 2020s what television was to the 1960s related to sport. The difference is television is monolithic and there are variables when it comes to social, but social has given everyone this style of microphone. So if you love lacrosse, if you watch the PLL, I would try to say take a forward-facing positive message online. It goes a long way.
Okay. That's awesome.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Scott.
All right, here we go. Question number 3. Sorry about the loss today.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, I could tell when we were talking before this, you were kind of pissed.
I'm used to disappointment. I'm a Mets fan.
Okay. Mets, New York, and Boston. What's it going to take to have Atlas get you to come over to the blue side?
I don't know. As a football fan, I'm also a Patriots fan. So
Okay, fair enough. Well, here we go.
yeah. So when you guys started the PLL, I'm sure there was a lot of like negativity. What was your motivation to keep going?
Sometimes the negativity is the motivation, right? And at least for me, and it's hard because what Paul just talked about is, if you want to participate in a positive way too, because it seems like the algorithms on certain platforms are rewarding the negativity. But at the same time, we knew that as you grow, it's just, and you become more distributed to audiences, and your audience builds, there's just gonna be haters. There's gonna be negativity. Look at any other sports league. Look at any celebrity. Look at anyone who's innovating. There are people that push back.
Gary Bettman and Roger Goodell get booed every time they're on stage.
Dude, Oprah Winfrey, like one of the greatest minds, television producers and talents of all time. There's people that hate on her. Like, no matter what you do, if you're breaking barriers, people are going to hate. So that said, we're also human, and we have emotion, and our feelings do get hurt. And so, one of the things that I kind of knew from this at the beginning, just being sort of a student of the industry, that this was going to happen. And I saw Paul take negativity as a player, whether he was in college or pros. So we created a value. Paul and I created a value. It was, we have 6 values. One of them is persevere through the noise. And it can have, a lot of different meanings, apply to different things, but specifically there is noise around, negative sentiment sometimes. And we have to persevere through that, knowing that's part of the bigger picture.
Yeah, I would contend that when we launched, it was largely positive because the lacrosse fan and player wanted a professional league that could service players and fans. And we were pretty ambitious in the way that we promoted the start of the league, not just our players, but with our network partner in NBC at the time. And so I would say what shifted, though, to Mike's point, is growth. When you start getting critics, by the way, like the Cisco and Ebert and film and television, and Mike had mentioned Oprah Winfrey and daytime talk shows, critics are part of the journey. My friends Colin and Samir, who built the Lacrosse Network, they'd say if you're in a business where no one cares, it's a pretty bad business to be in. And when people critique, I think I look at it through the lens of what they're actually saying. Is it emotional? Is it logical? Is it because their team lost? Is it because all these various things that could happen? Because what makes sports so valuable is its community and its emotion and its love and its win-loss. And that is commotion that's constructed that that becomes an outlet for discourse. So I think lacrosse and myself and Mike are not used to this level of discourse because it's never existed, because there has never been a pro game that moves the needle like we have. And we all got to really strap in. I mean, there's a reason why they call it NBA Twitter. You know how much hate happens in basketball? You know what I mean? Like LeBron James statistically is the greatest basketball player of all time. And anytime he posts or someone posts about him, people make fun of him and say that he sucks. The all-time point getter in the NBA sucks. Come on, kidding me? So we have to, all of us, sort of understand, compartmentalize, embrace. If this is the journey that we're on, you got to strap in.
Yeah, for sure.
Buckle up.
Thank you.
No problem.
Appreciate it. What was your name?
Christian.
Christian. Thanks, Christian.
And what's your handle? What's your social media handle so I can make sure I search it tonight?
Happy birthday, brother.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. All right, so that was cool having people live ask us questions that we didn't get a look at. Hope to see you guys tomorrow at the games. I do want to finish this podcast by previewing tomorrow's games. So the first one, we have Carolina and Denver. Shout out to the Denver Outlaws, who are now back. They were a 3-time MLL champion, one of the more historic organizations in pro lacrosse. And then when you have the Carolina Chaos and the camp that they've had, and just the Chaos organization has been built by Andy Towers and company with one of the best goalies we've seen in a long time, the sport in a long time, in Blaze Reardon. That's going to be a fun one to watch. The second one's interesting for me because you have the Whip Snakes, one of the perennial powerhouses of the PLL, and Jim Stagnita's Maryland team, taking on the New York Atlas. So we're going to get a taste of not only an Eastern Conference rival in the making, but see how a team that plays in back-to-back days handles it. What comes up for you?
I'm looking forward to – I always look forward to the new team chemistry, right? I get so used to the teams – from last year because I watched the game so intensely, and you like truly I know people like are always like, oh, what's your favorite team? Like we literally don't have them. We like root for the guys. We love all the guys, and when they lose, it sucks because you're like happy for the one team, the other guys lose, and you're like they care so much. But for me, I love seeing new chemistry because it's just new, it's interesting, and you look at a team that's been, you mentioned chaos, right? Like Towers and his staff have developed an entirely new offense from what I'm hearing. What I've seen in some of their off-season moves, what they acquired in the draft. I'm hearing this guy Ross Scott, his name a lot.
They got Jules Hennenberg.
They said Sergio had an insane training camp. Like, I love those guys, and so I'm excited to see what they do. I mean, C.J. Costabill and Troy Ray were hanging out here.
Fantastic.
I love those two guys. They're some of the best defenders to ever play the game, long stick middies. So I'm excited to watch those guys. I'm obviously excited to see Brandon O'Neill get out there. And the Outlaws, too, like, I asked Sudan yesterday, I said, how's it going, man? How's the refresh? Like, do you feel okay? You know, the Outlaws are a special team. Obviously, they mean a lot to, you know, the history of pro lacrosse. And he was like, dude, I feel honored to be part of them. And it was also good for us. Like, we had some great things with the Chrome, but, like, it's nice to start new, and we're all good over here. So I'm excited to watch that, too.
Yeah, I want to give two shout-outs, one on each team in that first game. So Josh Byrne being one, look out for him. I think he's one of the great athletes and lacrosse players that the pro game has seen in the last decade or so. He plays it like a European hooper, sometimes off balance, hitching and go. His footwork is immaculate. We were with him yesterday at a Goals for Greatness drop for City Lax here in Albany. He's a special kid. And on the other side, the captain, the veteran, Mike Manley. I played against him when he was at Duke. He is as tough as they come, a New York State cop. He has been a high-integrity player, a leader on the field, one of the toughest guys in the league. So seeing those two potentially square off, a big righty against a lefty, is fun. The next game, New York, pick a player. I'll pick a player from Maryland. You know, I could go with Matt Rambo because he's a boss, and Colin Heacock, but I'm excited to watch TJ Malone.
Oh, man, you stole that. I mean, look, I love Staggs. I think he's one of the greatest coaches of the PLL. I think that he's a great GM. He calls it how he sees it. It's his system. I think that, you know, they obviously lost Mike, so there's avoiding leadership. And for me, I always like to watch, like I talked about, team culture. And I know that there's a void. So I looked at guys like Matt Dunn. He's a great leader. Kyle Bernlohr, he's a great leader. How they filled that void up with Big Mike being retired now. Rambo stepping up, being a leader. And so I'll be looking to that leadership. Seasoned vets, world champions, as they step up into those, you know, those new leadership opportunities.
Yeah, and I think on Atlas, with the two players that everyone recognized, Schellenberger and Jeff Teat, continue to watch Dox Aiken. He was just trying out for the Ravens. Last year he was with the Giants. I mean, this guy, he was a 3-time All-American at Virginia. He set the all-time points record for a midfielder. He is a beast and such a great kid. He's running wings. He's running defense, running offense. Had the first goal of the game inside the first 15 seconds. So got Atlas off on the right foot. Keep your eye out for number 6, Dox Aiken. And with that,
let's do it. And with a football player, I love it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Taking Mike and I and putting this together. With that, episode 6 in the books. Thank you all for watching on ABC and ESPN Plus. Hope you watch the games today on ESPN Plus. If you're listening to this podcast right now, which I believe that would be today.
And follow everything on the app, PLL.app. Love you.
See you guys.